They caught him on his way to Stanleyville and flew him back. Patrice Lumumba securely wrote.
In 1960, Congo gained its independence. It was in the height of the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union. During this time, Patrice Lumumba came into power as the first Prime Minister of Congo. He was a Pan-Africanist and a nationalist who wanted to protect the resources of the Congo. So when the Americans and the Belgians realized this, they labeled him a communist, and he would be dead within 6 months of assuming power. Here, the author of the book Lumumba Plot, Stuart Reid, explains what happened.
So the key moment in the American decision-making process here happens at the White House on August 18th, 1960.
President Eisenhower at the time.
Right. And Eisenhower's meeting with his National Security Council, and at some point in the meeting, he says something to the effect that Lumumba has to be eliminated physically. And we know this for a few reasons. One, the National Security Council note taker at the meeting would testify to that effect to the Church Committee, which was investigating CIA excesses. Two, I was in the Eisenhower library and found handwritten notes from the meeting where someone wrote Lumumba and then a big black X to his name, which isn't proof on its own, but is suggestive. And then most important, we know what happens next, which is that the CIA sets in motion this bizarre assassination plot where poisons are flown to the Congo, handed to the CIA station chief, who is told to put them in Lumumba's food or toothpaste, and that they will kill Lumumba within a relatively short amount of time. So that really, I think, shows the paranoia operating in the heads of U.S. officials, that in this Cold War context, Lumumba had made the unforgivable sin of reaching out to the Soviets for help. The irony, quickly, is that after the Cold War ended and the Soviet archives opened up, it turns out there wasn't that much on the Congo in them because they didn't care that much about the Congo. They viewed it as a faraway place that wasn't particularly amenable to communism, had a heavily Catholic population. And in 1960, the Soviet Union was not particularly powerful compared to what it would become. And so it was a country where they could talk about the crisis and score some political points by pointing out at what the evil imperialists were doing, but it was not a place where the Soviets had any real influence.
The Americans and the Belgians used the excuse of communism during the height of Cold War to label Patrice Lumumba as a communist and a target for assassination. Clearly, you can see they were after the vast mineral resources of the Congo. And when there were internal chaos in the country, especially the secession of the Katanga region that is known for its vast mineral resources, Patrice Lumumba went to seek assistance from the US President Eisenhower, but did not get any assistance. He also went to look for assistance from the Russians. Still, they were reluctant to support him. Hence, no one could have actually pinpointed Lumumba as a man who was leaning toward communism. He was neutral and a Catholic, and we all know he was a nationalist whose main interest was to protect the interests of the people. After Lumumba was assassinated, Mobutu Sese Seko took power, and he was in favor of the West, and especially the Americans and the Belgians. And so he plundered the country for the next 30 years until he died in exile. That is all. Kindly like and subscribe this channel.